Hello, in this tutorial I'll be showing how you can easily retouch and color grade your photos in Photoshop. So without further ado, let's get started. So if at all you find the video helpful along the way, simply like the video and don't forget to subscribe. So in order to edit a photo, we are going to be dealing with a raw image. For this case, simply look and locate where the image is stored rather. Right click and simply come to edit with and simply select the Photoshop version that you want to use to edit. So I'm using Photoshop 2025. And it's going to automatically open up the camera raw filter. In the camera raw filter, basically, you want to correct the lighting and contrast issues regarding this very image. So we're going to come to the highlights and simply take the highlights down just like that. And we're simply going to come and take the whites down to recover the information in the sky area. And after we have done that, we're simply going to come and add contrast to the image. So I'll go with the contrast of around 14 and take down the exposure because I felt like the image was overexposed for my liking. So after doing that, I'll just come and open up the shadows just a tiny bit. So after I've done that, the next thing is going to be simply coming down to my color mixer options. And you can see that we have hue, saturation, and luminance. A hue is basically changing a given color to look like a color on top of it or to look like a color below it. So the blues can be made like the aquas by moving the slider towards the left hand side, and you can make the blues look like a purples by moving it towards the right hand side. Basically, that is how the hue slider is going to be affecting all the colors here. Saturation is the intensity of a given color, and you can see you can increase on the saturation or reduce on the saturation. Then luminance is how dark or how bright you want a color to be. And after understanding that, we are simply going to go straight into applying them on this very photo. So for this case, what do we want to do? We simply want to come and simply darken the blues because we want to get more information in the sky regarding the color in the sky and want the sky to pop. And we also want to darken the oranges slightly so that the skin can have more of the contrast. Then you're going to come to the saturation and simply slightly intensify on the saturation of the blues. Don't take it all the way up because it's going to be looking a little bit odd. So just add a tiny bit of saturation. I think let's go with 50. So this is going to be more of a preference as you're editing. So if at all you feel like 50 is too much, you can always take this down. So I'm just going to come down here to saturation and I'm going to take the reds towards the oranges just like that. Then I'll take the oranges towards the reds just like that. Then I'll come to my magentas and see how the magenta slider is going to be affecting this very image. So for this case, I'm just going to make the magentas look more all in more on the red side. So I'll come back to my luminance and darken the magentas just like that to have a little bit more of the information in the dress and have it looking better. So after doing that, we can as well come and add more contrast to the dark areas or the blacks of this photo. So you can see this is where we started and this is where we are right now. So if at all you want to add a tiny bit of teal to the blues, you can as well come back to the hues and play around with the hues and make the blues a little bit more on the aqua side. So I feel like this looks better. So after doing that, you're simply going to come and click on open to open the image into Photoshop for us to do the other editing steps. So you can see this is what we have. So the very first thing you can see, the image is slanting or tilting. So we're going to come to the crop tool right here and select the crop tool and click into the image. You can see we are using a ratio of 45 or 8 by 10 and just crop the image. So I'm just going to drag this up and tilt it just like that. So I'll just drag this in a little bit and also drag this in a little bit. So you can always follow that horizon so that you can have the best line. So I feel like that is okay. So I'll hit enter to crop the image. So you can see that the image is now cropped and it looks straight right now. So what we want to do, just want to do all work on the skin. And for the skin, we are basically going to be using frequency separation. Frequency separation is a skin retouching technique that is going to divide the image into the colors and the texture. So just come to this background layer and simply create two layers by pressing Ctrl J, or you can use Command J on the keyboard, and you're going to double click to rename that to low and double click to name this to high. And after doing that, we're going to come and hide or turn off the high frequency layer and simply select the low frequency layer. Then you're going to come right here to filter, just come to filter and come to blur and come to Gaussian blur. Then you are simply going to take the radius all the way down and click on the skin area. So just click on the skin. So I don't know why this is acting up. So let's try to see. Okay. So what we want to do in this case, after renaming these layers, turn off the high frequency layer and select the low frequency layer. You're simply going to come to filter, blur and come to Gaussian blur. And after doing that, simply come and take the radius all the way down and you click on the skin or the area that has more skin textures or skin details. So just come the radius and simply take up the radius slider. So you have to stop at the point whereby the textures are just starting to disappear from the photo that we are editing. So at around 6, that is when I'm just starting to lose out on the details or the textures, and click OK. And after doing that, simply come and select the high frequency layer and now activate it by turning it on. Come to image and come to apply image, and it's going to open up the apply image dialog box. Come to layer and simply select low and make sure the blending is set to add because we are editing a 16-bit image. Type in scale is to offset 0 or pass at 100%. Right here, preserve transparency and masks are not checked, and simply turn on the invert option. Then if at all you're dealing with an 8-bit image, simply use a blend mode of subtract. The scale is to offset 128 and simply don't turn on the invert option. So ours is add, and we simply put it back to 16-bit settings. So change this from normal and change it all the way down to linear light, and select both layers and press Ctrl G, or you can use Command G on the keyboard to group these layers. So open up the group, and the next thing we want to do, we just want to retouch the skin using frequency separation. So in order to retouch the image using frequency separation, come and select the low frequency layer or the color layer and turn off the high frequency layer, and make sure you don't zoom all the way in. And after doing that, simply come to the brushes, right click and get the mixer brush tool. And if at all the mixer brush tool is not displaying under the brushes, you can always locate the mixer brush tool below here if at all you are using a different Photoshop version or you have a different Photoshop interface. So just come, after getting the mixer brush tool, you can set it right here by making sure the hardness is set to 0, and make sure clean brush is selected. Make sure you have two options right here: load the brush after each and every stroke and clean the brush after each and every stroke. So make sure the second option is checked. Then weight is 9%, load 75, mix 90, flow at 100%. Make sure sample all layers is not turned on, and we just want to work on the skin. So in order to blend the skin, we simply want to get the brush and make sure that you have not zoomed all the way in. And to increase or decrease on the size of the mixer brush tool, you can use the open and close box brackets on the keyboard. So how to blend? We simply left click and hold down if at all you are using your trackpad or your mouse. Then for those using graphics tablets, simply draw over and paint. So you left click and hold down and blend a given area. So left click, hold down and blend that area just like that. Left click, hold down to mix a given color. So you have to keep on mixing colors according to the color variations in that area. So mix the midtones alone, the shadows alone, and the highlights alone, and always keep in the boundaries of a given color. And while that color is transitioning from one color to another, you have to use a small brush and blend the area that is transitioning or where the colors are transitioning from one color to another. So I'm just going to come and mix, and always follow the direction of the area you are working on. So you can see the hand is moving in and up down direction. So I'll also move the strokes of the brush in that kind of direction. So you can see this is what we have. Reduce on the size and also work on a small area. So you have to keep on changing on the different sizes or using different sizes of the mixer brush tool. So this is what we have so far. So come back and turn on the texture layer, and you can see this is the before after. We are still keeping and maintaining the original skin textures in this very image. So to remove the pimples or blemishes in this kind of image, what we want to do, we are simply going to come and select the texture or high frequency layer, and after selecting it, so select the texture layer. So after selecting it, we are simply going to come and get the clone stamp tool and make sure the hardness is set to 0%, the mode is set to normal, opacity 100%, flat 100%. Make sure align is selected and sample is set to current layer. So to remove a pimple or blemish, we simply zoom into the image and simply hold down the option key on the keyboard and left click while still holding down the option or the alternate key on the keyboard for Windows. Then release the option key or the alternate key on the keyboard and left click over the blemish to replace the pimple or blemish with clean skin. And in that way, the pimple or blemish will have been or will have gotten removed or eliminated from that given area. So basically we are painting over the blemish or the pimple using clean skin. So it is basically copying clean skin and painting over the pimple or the blemish to eliminate it. So take your time as you're trying to clean up or remove these pimples and skin imperfections from your photos or from your images. So to remove, for example, this line, you can simply left click, hold down and drag just like that to remove a line. So after you have been able to retouch the skin, you can see the before after. So you can now proceed with eye whitening for your image. So in order to do white eye and teeth whitening, simply come to adjustments and simply create a hue and saturation adjustment layer. Then simply come to master and make sure you take the saturation down to around -70. Then press Ctrl I, or you can use Command I on the keyboard to invert the effect. Come to the brushes, right click and get the normal brush tool. And with the brush tool selected, simply make sure the hardness is set to 0. Soft round brush is selected and the mode is set to normal right here. Opacity in the flat 100%. We just want to whiten the eyes. So make sure you have black and white on these two color swatches. So you can reset by using D on the keyboard. So with white as the foreground color, you can now zoom into the image by using Ctrl plus on the keyboard, or you can use Command plus on the keyboard and simply increase on the size of the brush and paint in the white area of the eye. So if at all you make a mistake, always remember to switch the brush back to black right here, and you can eliminate the brush or the effect from an area you didn't want to affect in the first place. So I'll just come and eliminate it from or whiten the teeth. So right now we are done doing the eye and teeth whitening. So we are going to come and do a final color grading. So just come right here and add some tiny bit of contrast to the image to around, just going to take it to around 10 is okay. Then when you feel like the skin is over saturated, just come and create a hue and saturation adjustment layer and come and select the reds and take the lightness of the reds down to kind of mute the colors in the skin. So we are also going to come and create one final adjustment layer, which is the black and white adjustment layer, and come and change the blend mode from normal to multiply, and come to opacity and simply drop the opacity to add some tiny bit of contrast to the model's skin. So this is what we have been able to achieve so far. So in order to make the image pop, if at all you wish to, come and create one final curves adjustment layer and just come down here, take it from this side and also take the black point just like that, and it's going to make the image pop before, after, before, after. So after retouching, the best way to save your image so it doesn't change in color when you post it or when you print it out, simply come right here to File, and come to export and come to export as, and it's going to open for you the export as dialog box right here. So make sure the format is set to JPEG and the quality is set to the maximum, which is 7 for my case. Then make sure the resample is set to bicubic sharper, and make sure these two options are selected, which is bicubic, convert sRGB, and also embed color profile. So make sure in the color space you have checked these two options and simply click export to save the image in whatever location that you want. So this is how you can easily edit a photo in Photoshop from the start to the very end. And if at all you have enjoyed this, simply like this video and don't forget to subscribe this channel if at all you're watching and you're not yet subscribed yet to this channel. Ronnix from ronnixphotography. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in yet more videos on this channel. And don't forget to keep practicing and also keep creating.